Any number of historical moments in the civil rights struggle have been used to identify Martin Luther King Jr., prime mover of the Montgomery boycott, keynote speaker at the March on Washington, the youngest Nobel Peace Prize winner. But in retrospect, single events are less important than the fact that King and his policy on non-violent protests was a dominant force in the civil rights movement during its decade of greatest activity from 1957 to 1968. On the third Monday of January, the United States celebrates Martin Luther King Day. Most people see this as an uncontroversial holiday and take for granted that Dr. King's significant contributions to securing equality for all Americans should be celebrated. However, this was not always the case. Civil rights advocates fought for 15 years to get this holiday recognized. In 1983, President Ronald Reagan finally signed a bill celebrating Martin Luther King Day into law. Dr. King was the first private citizen to have a holiday honored in the United States. Did you know that George Washington is the only other American to have had his birthday celebrated as a national holiday? And there were significant disagreements and controversies along the way. Many older persons may remember Jesse Helm and John East, senators from North Carolina, were some of the most vocal opposition of the holiday. Today, Alabama and Mississippi are the only states still hesitate to recognize Martin Luther King Jr. birthday. All across America, on Monday, January 20th, many people still organize and participate in Martin Luther King Jr. Day marches and gatherings to further his message of unity and justice for all. Here in Jacksonville, on tomorrow, the Keeping the Dream Alive Committee will host their 13th MLK Day Peace and Unity March from Jacksonville City Hall to the courthouse in downtown Jacksonville, starting at 10 a.m. After the march, they will gather at the Disabled American Veteran Building located at 300 Sherwood Road, where 3 students will be awarded scholarships from the committee, and Senator Paul A. Lowell Jr., chairman of the Legislative Black Caucus, will be the guest speaker. A light lunch will be served. On Saturday, January 25th, the Mumford Point Marine Association will host their 33rd annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Black and White Scholarship program at the Point, 148 Bremont Road. Tickets can be purchased at Jacksonville Beauty Supply for $40. Social hour, dinner, and program with guest speaker. Yesterday, the Georgetown High School alumni North Carolina chapter sponsored their scholarship brunch at the Infinite Prague with guest speaker Judge Carol Jones, and awarded their scholarships to 3 young students who were planning to continue their education beyond high school. In summary, from 1956 to 1962, Dr. Martin Luther King established himself as the national leader of the civil rights movement, leading boycotts and staging protests against segregation in the South. From 1963 to 1965 voting rights becomes the focus of King and other civil rights leaders. They organized protests among the nation, bringing more attention to their effort and more violent responses from opposition. And from 1966 to 1968, King's opposition to the veterans to the Vietnam War making headlines while his battle for the civil rights continued. But on April 4th, 1968, an assassin bullet ends his crusade. Do you take this holiday for granted? Or are you helping to carry out the message of justice and unity?
Amen.